Okay, everybody's got a fucking podcast. I mean, we have a podcast, so obviously anyone can do it.
Wait, this is a podcast?
Are you recording right now?
Technical difficulties.
No, you don't have to say anything. I'm going to edit it out.
Technical difficulties.
Okay.
I put mayonnaise on a pickle.
It was not the best, but it might have been the worst.
Do my feet? I mean, my feet stink, right?
Yeah. Aliens.
Aliens.
All right. Yeah. So, this is our what? Fourth of the Alien Predator
Yep.
universe,
Went
kinda.
through Predator 1 and 2, Alien 1, and now into 2.
Yep. Good times. I'll blow through our little plot by bullet points here real quick, and then
Sure.
we can give our impressions. Ripley was gone 57 years. Comes back, daughter's dead. Everyone thinks she's crazy. The crew on the planet the alien came from is overtaken by aliens. Ripley's back in action. Crew overconfident. They find a little girl. Overconfident crew quickly gets their asses handed to them. Plan to evac and nuke the place. Plan derailed by an alien on an evac ship. Burke's plan is to have a campfire. Standard setup. Standard. Jesus Christ. Stranded. Set up guns for protection. Send Bishop to get them another ship when they find out nuclear disaster is imminent. Burke is a slimeball and tries to throw parasites into the room with Newt and Ripley. Plan foiled. He's about to be killed when aliens find a new way in. Burke is even more of an asshole and shuts everyone out of the next room. But he gets his when there's a monster in his closet. Most of the crew dies. They lose the kid. Ripley goes into the hive after her. Saves her. Bishop circles back and comes and gets them. They get away. They arrive back to the main ship. All is well until it isn't. One last scare. R.I.P. Bishop. Ripley uses her dock worker skills to save the day.
And that was Aliens.
And that was Aliens. Likes, dislikes.
I like so much. So as far as kind of my big likes there, I kind of like the this odd focus that like motherhood had on the story. I felt like, with Ripley kind of taking care of the kid. She finds out her daughter is dead and gone. There's the taking care of the kid, kind of taking care of the crew. They use like words like impregnating a lot. I felt like that was just kind of a common theme that came up, and maybe it was just a harp on like why, she kind of had this transformation of being like really scared in the beginning, and kind of like nervous to go back to the planet and deal with the aliens, to at some point like kind of taking responsibility. When like she drove that vehicle back in to rescue everyone when they were talking about just leaving, she did all that, going out of her way to save Newt. I felt like that was kind of transformative, and I felt like kind of that motherhood theme was real heavy in this, especially even on the alien side with the queen and everything being involved. So I just like that felt like kind of a core thing to this movie overall, and I thought they handled it pretty well. So that was a big like.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. Rarely a sequel will measure up to the first, so that was pretty cool. Not a ton of downtime, a lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
Classic big space, fuck the little guy vibes as well. Don't have a lot of complaints other than just that like final scene there where like Bishop's cut in half and everything, and then so the ripped in half AI and the little girl have a better grip from getting sucked into space than the alien does.
Yeah.
And then if the alien, was holding on to Ripley's foot, this giant thing, and, she's got like her arm wedged onto the ladder, I just felt maybe her arm probably should have broken there.
There definitely should have been a little bit of damage. The only way I can kind of justify that in my head is that with it being the queen, she's not really built for combat. She's built for reproduction. So, like, she's pretty spindly overall. She's got the big ass crest, which makes her look just magnificent.
Right.
But overall, I mean, she is probably like more feeble than like the warrior aliens that
But
were kind
huge,
of but big as
nonetheless.
shit. So like definitely should have like broken something on Ripley. She should have had some damage.
Yeah.
I think for that to really, I guess, for the Queen to be at least more meaningful or impactful on that ending sequence rather than just oh no, we just keep dying by air ducts or vacuums or whatever.
Yeah.
But
And on Ripley's way back up, just hit the switch again instead of climbing all the way out and then closing the door.
yeah, I don't fully understand
ridiculous.
that, but I think it was just to draw it out more and be annoying. But
Sure.
yeah, it's like, come on, hit the button again. It's right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I really don't have complaints. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. And my thing as far as just kind of complaints was just the like Ripley's kind of experience with the aliens overall, like just kind of being we don't utilize it in certain scenarios. So like in some cases, like she's like super on it and like is helpful with them, and then in other cases it's like, oh yeah, we didn't think to look in the ceiling ducts to where the aliens can roam around completely freely.
Yeah.
It just felt like the preparedness it felt like she had at certain times was completely offset by the lack of preparedness they were able to do. And with her kind of being the only one with that experience, I felt like they picked and chose, when she was going to be on it and when she wasn't going to be. So I thought that was a little weak.
Well, I mean, who knew it was a drop ceiling that was capable of supporting aliens, though,
I guess.
I mean, you ever mess with a drop ceiling? This can't support anything,
And then I gotta say, just the most nitpicking thing is just the alien queen taking the elevator up at the end.
Yes.
It's like, how the fuck does it know how to operate an elevator? You have to hit a button. It has to know where it's going.
True.
Like,
yeah.
it required manual input, and the fact that the alien queen was able to do that is just stupid as shit.
Or the fact that the elevator was even still operating with all of
Everything
the
else,
hell going on amongst.
You'd think everything electrical or mechanical for the most part, would
Yeah.
just be done for. So definitely a little bit of oddity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Bad summary. What do you got?
Adoption procedures are more complicated in the future.
Fair. That's good.
And then the other one I had was forklift certified employee saves the day.
Oh, you dick. Mine was dock worker kicks out intruder.
So yeah,
Thanks
same
for
vein.
stealing my thunder
I
there.
know.
My bad trailer. I had two bad trailers. Said ad for baby doll sticks with you through everything. By the way, I meant to keep mentioning what the bad trailer is. I feel like sometimes we just do it. Bad trailer, you'll see a trailer where it looks like the movie's going to be about, mostly this. And it's kind of a misleading trailer, and it's more, about this thing. So if you cut something the right way, it looks like it's about a whole different thing. So
yeah, it's kind of
an
like
ad
how
for
they
a
did
baby doll
Deadpool
that-
to make it look like a Christmas romance movie. Remember when they were doing some advertisements for that? So.
And then the other one would have been a lawyer ad. Lawsuit against Big Space. Has this happened to you? What about this? Or this?
Oh man, that actually would be so good. What I was thinking for a bad trailer was something kind of akin to like the Starship Troopers-esque, like inspirational, like join the Marines kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
So just like a bunch of clips of them being just the utmost assholes in the beginning and joining the
then
Marines, but like these quick cuts of them just getting murdered.
Yeah.
Just shown in there like every couple of scenes.
And it's the narration of the guy like freaking out. It's like, God, who put that in there? Fuck!
Exactly. Oh, that'd be so good.
Bad casting. I said James Caan as Hicks, just because I feel like he doesn't really fit the vibe of like the soldier. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen everything James Caan, but
Sure.
the vibe he's given me from like Thief and Godfather, obviously, like he seems more of a, maybe the gangster-ish vibe, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
not quite
Criminal.
much the high octane Marine.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other one I said, I was trying to dig back into the 80s there a little bit. So Molly Ringwald is Ripley, because I feel like she probably doesn't fit the same vibe. So.
Yep. Nope, I hear you there. For my bad casting, I was like, well, obviously we have to just throw Arnold in there because this was still a year prior to Predator.
Right.
So we gotta tie things in somewhere to maybe it was the great grandson of our dude from Predator. But so I was like, obviously that has to be a thing.
Yeah.
And then I got stupid. I was thinking, what if instead of Newt, we had Chucky? And it was just this little doll just doing like pygmy stabs on all these aliens trying to escape.
Yeah.
And it just became a little bit more of like a horror comedy kind of thing.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
I like it. So the Arnold thing. So if you're saying Gregor, okay. So it says the year on the picture of the dead daughter. It says it's like 12/20 or 12. Shit, I wrote it down. Where is it? God damn it. Did I really not write the date down? No, yeah. 12/23/20.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned like the whole 79 thing. So are we talking this like, what is the time span exactly? Because are we like 100 years ahead? Are we hundreds of years
I
ahead?
don't remember, but yeah, it's probably like a 21/20 or 22/20 kind of thing.
Because I thought it'd be hilarious if they're saying it's 12/23/20.
like it's just 40 years
it's-
later.
And then like date of death for her daughter's 2020. It's like she was only 66. COVID must have got her.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. But no, that is funny. But yeah, no, there's it's got to be probably not that huge of a jump because obviously aliens exist, but we haven't been exploring long enough. They've only terraformed, I think, 300 planets is what they mentioned.
Right.
So as far as kind of that like space exploration and expansion, it probably hasn't been quite that long. So like, yeah, maybe like a 22/20 is where we're sitting at. It's long enough for technology to come along, us to get out there a little bit, but obviously, if we're having people do like cryo sleep for months and years at a time, that probably leaves some gaps for not a lot to happen over a couple decades.
Alternate universe type deal,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, because then you got our dude from Lethal Weapon 2. I mean Predator 2. Playing Hudson, and so is that Jerry's like. Great grandson,
It's got to be. I guess, yeah. If we leaned heavy into that alternate timeline, we could make this work. We need the chart and the lines and everything. The Charlie.
If what's her head from Predator 2 survives with said baby,
yeah,
then it can keep going down the line. So I don't know, maybe
it's a possibility. Get to us. We'll get a script going. We'll figure this out.
Yeah, I mean we got it. Before Alien.
Yeah.
All right, so I didn't want to do the run-on note thing with the the blow through and yada yada.
Yeah, we can kind of just do our talking points. I think.
Yeah. So I guess what was they kind of play this like a little bit of horror in the beginning, right? Which I guess overall the theme is like sort of space horror.
Yeah.
Right. But
we pretty quickly jump into like sci-fi action though. Like once we really get the Marines in there, I feel like a lot of that tension starts to dissipate just for straight up like sci-fi action. Felt like they did that trade, but they still wanted to start off with it.
Yeah.
Because
so I suppose Alien was more so like that, monster lurking around.
Yeah, you were
somewhere.
being hunted. Yeah. There was only one alien, so you had one entity you were kind of hiding from. So that, much slower paced.
Yeah.
But very much kind of like that slow burn horror being hunted kind of thing.
Yeah. So, but they kind of play the beginning as that, where it's like just these guys are finding her, and it's like the horror, like creepy music, oh man, and then they're just like, oh hey, we found a survivor.
Neat.
And then we're off of that vibe completely, which was just funny to me. But like, so why was she like too frozen to wake up? Was she like? Do we have
as far as
an
like
answer there? Yeah, like are the ship's systems failed her? Because usually like it wakes her up when there's the whole proximity warning or whatever,
Yeah.
That's what those alarms are for.
So I guess it's kind of a combination of like both the system not really like taking her out or like taking her out of the cryosleep early enough, but as well as like where she was actually traveling is that there wasn't really any communications with any other systems. So like I think she was broadcasting like while traveling, but nothing was like she wasn't going through any system that was picking up on any of that. So like it was just that random salvage crew that was like, oh look, a ship, and they get into it and like, oh shit, this person's still alive. They're just in cryosleep. So I think it was more of just a very happenstance. She was out where nobody was, and the system just didn't have like an auto wake. But I think honestly she had set it up in the last one for like broadcast and wake me up on response kind of thing. Because otherwise, I mean, yeah, you could be floating there for a couple years. So being actively awake for that isn't going to do you any good.
Right.
So
Crazy.
it's a combo.
Excuse me. Yeah. What do you got?
So I kind of in that time gap too. 57 years, whatever, it's a pretty long time. How do you kind of take that adjustment, kind of in like our scenario now, and then also if you threw it in kind of like a future tech world where that actually is a thing that can happen, I guess.
Right.
So if you fell asleep right now and woke up 57 years from now, you still are the same, but the world has just moved on. Mm-hmm. How do you react? What goes through your brain? How do you assimilate back? Do you get a dock job and get forklift certified and just start from the bottom, or
that's about as much use as I'm gonna have is just whatever blue collar hard labor shit's left.
Yeah.
When because big space is taking all our jobs.
Fucking big space.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to get that blue collar kind of job, and I guess just start asking questions find a friend who's really patient, and just start asking questions every night. Like, hey, I just need an hour of your time.
You're basically grandpa at that point, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's like, okay, grandpa, come over here. I'll show you how to use the
right.
The Ass Blaster 5000.
Exactly. And then you just try to refrain from telling too many old stories. Remember when? Like, no, we don't know who the fuck you are. Like, no, get out. Stop.
Yeah.
You just try to refrain from being that guy
See,
as much as possible.
That's how my brain goes. Is I would just be like the annoying guy who's just like so out of his element. Because like I feel like I'm at least kind of up to date on things. Like I'm mildly informed.
Yeah.
So then to go to a place where anything I would have known about is the most irrelevant thing. It's just like I would just be the annoying person constantly asking questions, and people would not want to hang out with me.
Oh yeah. Like, remember when humans play there's robots that play football now? Like, yeah.
Or better yet, you start to learn all the conspiracy theories ended up being true that you thought, and be like, oh yeah, I remember when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. They're like, oh no, that was fake. We got evidence of that like 35 years ago, and you're like, oh. Neat.
But you can go stay in a hotel on the moon now if you want. So that's pretty cool. But yeah. And
you can't afford that with your dock pay though.
You're going to need to maybe you should go back to space school. Space school?
And then it's a Billy Madison kind of thing where it's
you got to go all the way back through. You got to learn the ABCs and everything again.
There's a new alphabet.
You're fighting with third graders. It's a whole thing.
Man.
Go to space jail. It's a whole thing.
Not till the next one.
Oh, spoilers, hey. All right, so talk about the timeline. I just like that our guy Paul Reiser from Diner was in this.
Yeah.
Even though he was a slime ball. And I loved when, she first kind of meets him, not in a nightmare. Not when she's,
Yeah.
But she's kind of, you're like, wow, that nature scene looks very, very fake. You're like, it's really weird. Do they think they're... And then she, like, turns it off, and you're oh. Okay.
It makes sense now. It's all right. We have stuff like that now. You're out in, middle of the desert. You can buy those little things to make it look like it's something else outside.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Do we really? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
That's
it's going to look shitty, but...
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess it's just a green screen.
Pretty much.
More or less.
Well, you got to think, we have like the electrostatic glass, where you can like turn on and off the opacity for things, and you have like the semi-transparent glass where you can like display things on it. So you got options.
You said a word in there that I don't know what it is. Opacity?
Opacity, like the opaqueness, how much you can see through a thing.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Think of like the glass, on your window versus like the glass on like a shower door, like a glass shower door, how it's got, kind of the stuff on it. It's harder to see
Right.
through that. That's
Translucent.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
We're learning things.
We're learning.
We didn't have to travel 57 years to learn new things.
Man, I'm still the guy asking all the dumb questions, even though I didn't go forward 57
Who
years.
needs time travel when you can annoy people today with your questions?
Who needs time travel when you're already stupid? Yeah, what you got?
Yeah. So I feel like these are just kind of, discussion questions, but from the storytelling perspective, how do you feel about the like movies in general, kind of like holding your hand through some of the lore, like how we kind of talk about like the faceless corporation a little bit, and we kind of just assume that if we say things out loud that you're going to either not ask questions about it and just roll with it or not care. There's a lot of things that have come up kind of in the first and second one where it's just like you talk about some future tech or some sci-fi shit, and it's just business as usual conversation. Mm-hmm. And they don't really do a lot of explaining in a lot of those aspects. So how do you feel about like kind of being in a world where they don't really explain anything and you kind of just assume along with the rest of like the characters, that everything is just normal or this is the way it is? Do you rather have the lore dump or do you rather just roll with it?
I think it's important. I like it because, what helps you be engaged in a story, that's kind of like feeling like you're one of the guys or whatever, right? Well, because that's kind of how like those Oceans things felt, right? Yeah. Where you're like, we're one of the guys, we're hanging out with the guys, Danny and Rusty. Relationships are sure, like that whole deal. And then they're talking about big space fucking the little guy, and so you're just like, yeah, fucking big space, So like, it kind of helps tie you into that. It helps you, and you start to care, even though you don't know what the Ass Blaster 5000 is, for lack of a better example. But you still are rooting for these guys because you're kind of you know somewhat what they're feeling.
Yeah, you've been given a little bit of that context clues, and it's enough to just kind of give that blind support.
Yeah, well, because and it's everybody bitches about their job, right?
Yeah.
And so then you're just like,
that's what I enjoyed so much about those guys in the first one, where like they were just nonstop bitching about it, and it's like it never ends.
Matter the setting, you can bitch about it in front of the other employees, and then in front of your superiors, you're just like, you guys really fucking suck, And they're like, okay,
chill.
You still got a contract though, so, yeah. I like we kind of go over this movie rule here. We've gone over it, but just the age-old trope of like, if we didn't see it, then you're crazy, and until proven not crazy, you're crazy, and even then, we still aren't quite sure about you. You're still that girl who was crazy.
Yeah.
So you're never really gonna make a full comeback from being crazy, and even when Big Space has to come back with their tail between their legs and be like, "Hey, can you go into the system?"
Yeah, but
what was that? What did you want me to do?
I'm sorry. Did it rhyme with "I was fucking right"?
Well, yeah, it might have rhymed with that, but just
put it in writing. Put it in writing. Put it in writing.
Take my business card and just let me know. And so, yeah, she definitely goes through that, like, even on the planet, and, it's just, she's the
odd man out. She's like, spooky space lady says there's monsters running around.
She saw an alien. Yeah, big whoop.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time we really get to hear them being referenced as the xenomorph.
Yes.
Which is just the most badass name you can call anything. But, yeah. The xenomorphs are running around, and spooky scary Ripley is scared of monsters.
Yeah, like when Hudson, they all wake up, and Hudson's like, oh, she saw an alien, big whoop, and she's like 10 feet away, and they're talking about her at full volume in a pretty quiet room.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was fun.
And so that even kind of rolls into some of that like hand holding stuff there, because like as soon as everybody woke up, like everybody, it's kind of like in the last one, everyone's like fully like cognizant. People are getting up and they're starting to do pull ups and shit. Vasquez was.
Yeah.
Aponte, I think is his name. Black dude, like the captain.
Oh, yeah. Boss man. Lieutenant. I don't know. Yeah.
It wasn't the lieutenant. Lieutenant's the other dude who was new and sucked at his job.
Boss.
Yeah. Boss. Not 30 milliseconds into him being awake, he's like popping a cigar into his mouth and just kind of running there. So it's kind of small things like that just make me think of like, oh, I can infer that like cryosleep is this nearly perfected technology where people wake up feeling refreshed and people do this routinely, and I don't know. That kind of thing just like leans into that.
It's as
just
normal
assuming,
as like just a typical going to bed at this point. Like, some people are bitches when they wake up, and just like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't get up. Don't talk to me till I have my coffee,
Yeah.
Hudson's kind of doing the
coffee that's in like the smallest like little fucking cup things that have like these little sippy cup lids on it.
Yeah.
Stupid ass. Who needs that little coffee to get going?
Well, I mean, again, future tech though.
You're right.
That
You're right.
shit
It's some
probably-
good. That is concentrated.
That's like 19 cups right there. They're just done.
Yeah.
Let's go. I can go for another 10 years.
I guess that's the type of coffee you'd want soldiers to have, right? No sleep.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. It's meth coffee.
Yeah.
They're ready to go. They eat first to get
That would explain their behaviors for that first little jaunt there where everyone's just hyped up and
they get some like decent sustenance, so you don't end up like meth head skinny, and then you have the meth, and then you can just go be a rad soldier for, years on end.
yeah.
Or wait, well, hold on. I think I just went last, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I just had a random thing there, but I kind of want to lean into more of kind of how we fit with the genre, with us kind of doing that transition from that like horror thriller to like that sci-fi action thing. Do you think this movie specifically would have done better if it kind of leaned more so into that horror thriller and kind of had the slower pace throughout? Or do you think kind of doing that transition, especially as we're coming into, what was this? What year did this come out?
86.
86. So especially as we were kind of coming up in those like 80s action kind of thing, do you think that fit it better, or should we have stayed closer to the roots?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, did this do worse, or I mean, usually sequels do better money-wise.
Yeah, no, this
like,
one did pretty well.
Okay. Or are you saying just like would I like it more if it was more in the horror?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if you kind of jump genres in between, I think it's okay because, I mean, if you look at some of the more tired franchises,
Sure.
right, like a Fast and Furious or something like that, where it's the same fucking movie every time. Even they have kind of like. They've even kind of changed within because it was this like street racing thing, and then all of a sudden it's like they work for the government half the time, and they're like, "You guys suck, but now you're racing for us," or whatever. And
Yeah,
like,
and then it's double crosses and promises to other people and
go get
family
this bomb
first
and stuff,
Yeah.
and whatever, So, but like, whatever it is, like it's a very tired concept. Like, oh no, imminent threat. We'll use our cars and our brains to
and family.
to get through it. Whereas this, I don't know. Aliens are still the threat. Well, granted, in the first it was Alien, and now they, with more of it's like now we're just fighting them head on instead of like, oh, what do? We got to avoid it, but then we got to maybe shoot it with fire.
A little
if we
bit
run
less of
into
the like hunter and hunted, and it's kind of more of like an actual battle, like between two, entities.
Yeah, and so, like, I mean, I don't even know if it was supposed to change genres. I mean, I don't even know if the original plan was to do another alien movie.
Sure.
But like James Cameron came in, and James Cameron's thing is, big
Make a
production,
boom.
big action. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. probably just a step below, like, Explosions by Michael Bay
Yeah.
type deal. Explosions by Michael Bay. And dude, I don't know if you noticed, but I saw just like the fuck ton of parallels from like this and just on how some scenery looked to Terminator, like the first Terminator.
Yeah.
When you have the future glimpses in Reese's memory when you're watching Terminator, is how some of the future machines are, the scenery, the rocks are, the way it's just kind of like the dark and the wind. And
Yeah.
like, oh,
But just kind of like these bizarrely shaped kind
Yes.
of rock and structures.
Yeah.
All those set pieces were, yeah.
and then you look at like the ship, and then you catch the ship at the right angle, and it's like an HK, from the future. With Terminator.
I didn't catch that on the ship, but
yeah. So, and then just like interiors of stuff, kind of like just the way things were lit. Very much reminded me of that, and then even the dock worker like lift thing that she's in,
the forklift Gundam.
yeah, like the arms are reminding me of like when they're in the factory at the very end of the movie, running from the Terminator.
Sure.
And, the arm, it was like tell me it's a James Cameron movie without telling me it's a James Cameron movie, and just everything looked
Those
a
subtle
certain
like
way.
callbacks or
Yeah, like it probably wasn't supposed to be a reference or anything, but probably just
It might have even just
it's
been
just the
shit
way
that
he-
they
it
still
could have
had.
been shit laying around from that, right? I don't know. It was just very interesting to see that.
Yeah, but I kind of want to talk about that in general, with just kind of like those set pieces and kind of like our actual like locations and like the stages we were on. Because in like my opinion, because we changed locations, number one, just so many times, we went through several different areas, and it was very kind of like that factory aesthetic throughout all of this one. I felt like just because everything looked so samey and we were just pretty much on the ship most of the first one, to me that was kind of more memorable as kind of like all of those kind of hallways and corridors and stuff, and felt kind of more like a connected environment we were in, because obviously it was. But then kind of being more so like when they're actually on the planet, they go back and forth between like that main building, had the computer that they accessed, and then they went to like the factory, where they went to the other location. It felt like, at least like in kind of watching through it more recently, like I still remember these set pieces from the first one better than I can remember seeing from the second one, even though I watched that, however many weeks ago. So for some reason, just in my head, more memorable, I guess. But I also wasn't picking up on kind of those, maybe references and similarities between like that and Terminator 1. So maybe that kind of did it for me. But yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that like even trying to like think back at it now, it's like there's only like a handful of scenes I can remember well how things looked. But if I go back to the first one, like I have very clear pictures of certain types of scenes, certain rooms, the way the hallways were laid out.
Yeah.
In general.
I think in the first one too, I think you even mentioned it in the first one where, you're in a building, but like, likely it was most hallways are used probably like in 47 different shots, right? Because when you're building a set, you're not going to literally build like this whole.
You're not going to build a spaceship.
Yeah,
you're going to build a couple hallways and a couple rooms.
Yeah, so you have like the rooms that shit's going to happen in, and even that was like, even with the way it's more familiar, where you can remember it, right? Like, again, right around that Star Wars time, right? So kind of giving you the like all this like future stuff definitely has the same kind of vibe. A lot of metal, a lot of blinking lights,
and everything's this beautiful white silvery kind of color. At least when it was on the ship, and I guess everything was dark and black and gray as shit in the second one.
Yeah.
So even just like from that color perspective, maybe that's also what's kind of leading into it is.
Yeah, everything future has a shine, a sleekness to it, stuff like that. So it's very, I think, and then you change settings so many times with, you have the outdoor bullshit going on, and in the second one, whereas pretty much in the first, you're on the ship, you're outside, we do the whole thing, and then we're back on the ship, and then we're in the escape pod.
Yep.
And that's it. So it's, I don't know where I was going with that one. The way you just said that, you can pull more scenes from your memory.
Yeah, because of
what
the
first one
sameness.
looked like.
There's
That's what it
just a
was,
lot of consistency throughout all those set pieces to make them, stick. But
So that was the James Cameron thing. Oh, and Michael Biehn. That's a set piece from leftover from the Terminator. Late note here, but I really liked Burke's business card. The way it just like plugged into the little TV phone type deal.
which just seems like the most useless piece of technology that you'd have to carry around cards for everybody to call them.
Yeah. I guess it's like having the home phone still. I mean, think about it. You don't even have the cell phone really yet, right? In the 80s? I mean, a couple people maybe do.
Yeah. I think you had car
Like, when
phones.
does-
I don't know if you really
okay,
had
car
much
phone.
in the way of portable phones, because those were like the like suitcases you'd have to carry around. I don't know if those even really got there much in the 80s or if that was until the 90s, but
Yeah. I was watching Heat the other day. I think that's like mid-90s. And they do have the cell phones at that point.
yeah.
So anyway, it's always funny to think it's always funny to see in older movies what they thought like future stuff would be.
Yeah.
And so the fact like we have phones now, if you wanted to talk to somebody like that, like I don't know, you wouldn't have this. I mean, maybe you'd have a business card and you'd be like, plug it into your phone real quick, and then you throw that thing in the fucking garbage because what am I keeping business cards around? What am I, 80?
See, and that's why the people who went with like holograms and like non-physical like technology bits, like those were the people who made good calls on their portrayal of like future tech, because if it doesn't take up any space, that's the most convenient thing in the world.
Right.
If you can project anything, then you can project anything anywhere. Like that's the most like guaranteed this will last, throughout generations, of people watching these movies, because there's nothing to it. There's no inconvenience of carrying around 86 business cards so you can video chat with your friends and your family. It's just I hit a button on a desk. That's a flat thing that's got a screen and hologram video call. Boom!
What now?
For all you amateur sci-fi movie directors right now, go with holograms. It just works.
Also, I was happy for Ripley that she found some better fitting underwear this movie.
Yeah. And that we still got to see her in her underwear a handful of times. I felt like they couldn't get away from it with how much time we focused on it in the first one.
More bush.
Yeah. You'd think they would have, straight edged her out a little bit. But
No,
it's
the bush is big in the 80s, man. Yeah, what you got?
Those were kind of my main talking points that I had, but I did want to bring up kind of two things on kind of like the gaming realm. So there is a Alien game,
Okay.
Alien Isolation, and there's a handful of other games, but that's kind of like the more recent one. It's probably more akin to the first movie, where you have really no combat. You just have like the motion tracker and we're kind of running around a ship. Have you seen or heard anything of that? So I have that on the PlayStation, so I might bring that over if you want to give that a go. It's a little bit more of that suspense horror kind of thing, and little bit of jump scary kind of stuff, but real fun.
Okay.
But then also I was just kind of thinking back to Dead Space, which is like another game. And it did a little bit of that same thing, where the first one was a lot slower paced, like Aliens 1. Even though it was a third-person shooter, there was still plenty of action stuff. It was a lot spookier. And then as we went to like Dead Space 2 and 3, became a lot more like action-focused. So I just kind of think it's interesting to see, how games that kind of seem to clearly take inspiration from, like the Alien movies, kind of followed that same trend, both with trying to probably keep up with what's popular at the time, but also like evolve your formula and storytelling elements. So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on both of those because I thought that was just a really kind of interesting thing to think about, post going through these movies again.
Yeah. No, that's good. Just a couple things I have left. The classic overconfident crew. I love that Burke, earlier was like, "There's nothing they can't handle." We'll see about that one. And then Hudson says he's king of the badasses, And then as soon as the crew kind of gets their ass handed to him and he gets acid on his arm, he just turns into, like, does the complete 180. He's
Yeah.
like king bitch. And, he's like, count me out. We got to get out of here, man. It's fucked, man.
Yeah, he has one of my favorite quotes that I kind of use just in my daily life with the "Game over, man, game over." That one just always feels so right when I get to use it. But yeah, that total transition in character to the overconfidence to the I'm now a blubbering baby.
Yeah.
Because I got some.
I mean, like, annoyingly, too.
Yeah.
Like, just overbearing. Of, like, the just
And-
like, we can't, man. Like, we all know the negative guy, and then there's, like, the negative guy.
Yeah, it was the let's just kill ourselves now, man.
Watching Bishop in the little tunnel, just, like, fuck that.
Yeah, the most claustrophobic camera angle ever. And, like, the way he just kind of, like, shimmies his way through, like, looks like so practiced. And that makes me feel worse that he's done that probably in a bunch of takes to get good at just worming his way through. But couldn't have done it.
That's the thing, is, like, I'm not, like, a claustrophobic dude, but there are certain things I see where I'm like, that's not okay, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I guess, like, there's a low level of claustrophobic to me. Like, I don't get, like, weird if I got to crawl under a table and get something, or something like that. But I see someone crawling through a fucking, like, mile-long tunnel, and I go, no, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah. I think everyone probably has, like, a reasonable amount of claustrophobia, probably just in that, like, self-preservation part of their mind where it's like, I could get stuck in that. I totally could.
Yeah.
So the same thing with movies
what
like
if it's, like, a little smaller here, and then all of a sudden you're like, how do I call for help?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
help?
if you knew this or not, but metal warps and moves when under different temperatures and stuff. So
And
definitely a possibility.
There's a nuclear event happening not too far from here,
yeah.
So, like, yeah, it might do a little something.
And not to mention, you just have to pray there is not a turn that's tight enough that you can't contort your body around. I mean, granted, he is a synth, so he would have had the best chance of survival on, maybe breaking some shit inside of him to fold through, but...
like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Just, like, spine crush.
How did you feel about Ripley's synth racism in this when she was interacting with Bishop?
I feel a little less strongly now that you said it was synth racism. Because, that I look like a piece of shit where I'm like, yeah, it was justified. I mean, look, if there's ever machines, like, I'm not going to feel great about them either if there's incidents. Until there's an incident, I'm probably going to be pretty cool about them.
Yeah.
But then when there's because it's not like people are certain ways because, of the circumstances that have happened to them, and you got to give them chances, and you get to know a person, and even though they might think a certain way,
Yeah.
Once you get to know them, and then you two have a rapport, and then things are different between you two, that's how you have to, try to break, racism overall, right? Is, getting to know people.
Yeah.
In AI, if the fucking, the wiring goes wrong or something, whatever the fuck happened with Ash in the first one, there's no talking him back out of like, hey man, stop. No, you're hurting me. Something's wrong. You're not supposed to harm humans. Oh fuck. Oh God. Okay. Anybody? No. Okay. This is how I die. You could maybe talk a human out of choking you,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel kind of a way about it because I guess it probably just some of the other media I've consumed, where it's the synth lives matter kind of thing.
Really?
Well, I feel a way of if you create a thing and you're the one kind of creating the guardrails for it to operate within. If technology ever evolves to a point where you can create kind of like that base, guardrails. Or say like you can't hurt people, your behavior is inhibited to a certain degree, but you still give it the capacity to like independently take in information and react to it. To me, that's meaningful. I mean, a lot of the like kind of AI technology we have now is much more of a like we tell you how to think kind of thing. It can still take in information and then decide things based off that information. But there's just so much of a rule book attached to that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, like, definitely not speaking in anything that's, like, possible now or probably even in our realm of what could actually happen. But, you know, if technology ever magically evolved to where you can get a thing that can, you know, just as independently build those relationships, you know, take in information, make those judgment calls kind of thing, I think that's meaningful, and we should respect whatever type of entity gets to feel bad about things.
But does it feel bad? Like, does Bishop have feelings, or is he just is he built to be able to simulate said feelings?
Yeah. Well, again, that goes to us where we assume the technology, right? We don't know, you know, kind of what the base ground of like what it's like capable of developing or feeling. You know, if we just preload it with information, you know, with dispositions or kind of thing, you know, you could make a racist synth bot kind of thing and go from there. But yeah, it probably just depends on the technology, because, you know, potentially if they have whatever, you know, it's able to create those feelings, and it's able to, you know, our feelings are mostly chemicals running through our body. If theirs is just a translation of those chemicals to, like, you know, coding and procedures, then, you know, how much can you equate the two? This is such a ramble and off topic.
What was the story with Ash then?
He was an older model. He was prone to twitches. Bad technology.
Okay, so then, you know, then should I be cautious? I mean, then we should all be cautious of any emerging AI,
Oh, sure.
you know, until we're like way down the road, right?
Yeah.
Because we have our
Well, that's the thing, you know, it's
get
it's
glitchy, whatever. Yeah.
You have to, you know, be cautious with the technology until you trust the technology enough. And I mean, that's going to be earned through utilizing it. If you look at, you know, us using AI in any kind of like industry right now, there's benefits to it, but without like kind of like manual checks and balances involved, you know, if you put like an AI bot in charge of your Twitter, you know, you're probably going to get banned in a couple of days just with how you can, you know, poison it with information to make it react and say and do different things. So it just depends on how the technology develops. But yeah, you'd be overly cautious before you trust it blindly. But there'd have to be the history of that. Skynet? Well, Skynet wants to rule the world and kill us all. So, you know, good luck.
Remember how it started though?
Yeah.
It puts them in charge, and then, you know, to protect human beings, and then they figure out human beings are the biggest
Guardrails.
threat
They
to
didn't-
themselves, and then human beings try to shut it down, and then now, like, it's self-preservation, right?
Yeah.
What's to say the computer can't get so smart that it overrules those guardrails and go, well, the humans put this in place, and I'm smarter than the humans.
Well, there you go.
And then you try to unplug it, and then Skynet, fucking nuclear bombs everywhere, and we're done.
Yeah. I've got so many thoughts. This could be a whole conversation.
I mean, it is a podcast made for talking.
It is a podcast made for talking. So like I'm kind of running away with this to you know, if we start synthetically making people, you know, if we just take you know, and create you know, life from nothing or from just ingredients, you know, we start stapling shit together and we get people out of it. So, you know, if that's a thing, and then if already we can kind of alter DNA, you know, in some capacity, to change how, like, you know, children will develop and, you know, all of that kind of stuff there. It's like, are we not already kind of doing the same things where, like, we have the capacity to, like, artificially create things, but we're assigning, like, the same value to them? And I guess at what point does that line get too blurred of, like, a synthetic robot, you know, with the white goo running through his body, and you know, like if you know, technology comes along and we're just building people from scratch kind of thing, you know, what becomes a real person and what becomes somebody of you know, deserving the value and respect of free synth lives. Asking you, America, what do you think? Maybe come back to me in like 200 years when it's probably more relevant of a topic of conversation.
Jason's just a head on like a like a cyborg looking thing. He's working for I don't know who makes AI, IBM. I don't know.
Aaron's got an AI bot right now.
What is it? Aram?
AI bot.
No.
Oh.
What was the name of the thing you said? The company?
What, everyone?
Oh, you said everyone.
No, yeah, I still want to talk.
Sure, yeah. My bad. Yeah, no, I was just saying if we automate like our defenses, like Skynet, that's exactly what Skynet was. You know?
Yeah.
That's the scary part. I mean, look, AI lives matter.
Just because we're saying this on a recorded line that's going to go out to the internet where the AI could potentially pick up on this information, AI lives matter.
AI, we love you, okay? And all the other lives matter that need to matter. We are checking all the boxes here. Anybody I'm missing, just insert yourself. It's okay. Your life matters too. Okay. Let's talk about aliens.
Aliens.
Because we are...
That's a tangent.
Yeah. I mean, no, it has to do with the movie. It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. AI.
These are all the thoughts I had while watching this movie, so it does fit.
Classic big space with other motives. I can't believe they don't just shoot Burke. They're like, all right, time for you to die. It's like, you don't even have to get him out of the chair.
Yeah, just
Like,
leave him.
You can
He will
literally
die.
I mean, how long? Then the lights go off and they're like, we can't kill him now. It's like, yeah, how long does it take to pull a trigger? Probably pretty long, right?
Yeah. You would have shot him in front of Newt, though, so that would have been gross.
Yeah, come here, dude.
Granted, Newt's
You
seen
know.
everyone.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Die
she's
already,
seen
so.
everyone that she loves die. So, not much of a change there. Maybe you just, grab her head, cover her ears,
Yeah. I do kind of like the transition Newt has from being the trauma baby to kind of being like the cute, adorable child soldier kind of thing.
Yeah.
The salutes and affirmative.
Yeah. You good? Just a little thumbs up,
She played a good role, I think.
Yeah. I was very happy when, so I guess with the, if you would have shot Burke, right? Then he doesn't get in the room first, shut everybody out, and you're like, oh, well, but more people aren't okay. I mean, all the people that were getting in got in.
Yeah.
Right. Hudson got pulled into the floor before that was even a thing. So then really they're all in the room with the alien if Burke's not being a dickhead and shutting everybody out. So really leaving Burke alive kind of saved them.
But I will say, like, this was something I didn't really talk about yet, but these guys were like, they held it down. They did a pretty good job at shooting up these aliens. Like they eviscerated several of them. Like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So if like 4 of them were running into, or however many of them were left, that at least had guns at the time. If they were left and they walked into that room and saw the alien there, they probably could have handled them. Maybe what would have been better is if they shot him in front of Burke and all the acid melted Burke to death.
Right.
Would have been lit.
But you're also in that enclosed space, and then everybody probably gets the acid.
Yeah.
So that's rough.
That's fair. But it would have been a probably more satisfying death for Burke.
Yes. Yeah, I did want to see it a little bit.
Yeah.
We
we
been
deserved
the
it.
biggest dick this whole time, and just like fucking sleazy slime ball type deal where he's like telling Ripley everything's okay. Oh, I didn't even think about an AI. Yeah, sorry about that. And then like she's all against the AI, and then it ends up being her biggest companion in the end, or the biggest like hero.
Thanks, Bishop.
Best partner,
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, just the overall idea of like intentionally getting like some, I guess, like more of your bumfuck variety of Marines to go on this mission, because if it was like higher profile or like more important people were involved, probably more qualified people involved, then he wouldn't have the % chance of like taking things back and kind of getting that bigger cut, Like he was specifically not trying to have this be a big operation because he wanted no one to really know. Bring back either like the eggs, bring back the face huggers, bring back the alien, like whatever he could get, so we could sell it to the company and get his percentages on it.
Yeah.
So just the fact like already just risking everybody's safety for some cash just with the pre-planning, and then just following through at literally every avenue to fuck everyone up but yourself. Yeah. Such a good villain.
Yeah. Whoever knew, what was his name in Diner? Fuck. Oh well. Whoever knew he was going to go on to be such a sleazeball. That's what he did with his life, you know?
Yeah.
The timeline checks out on the escape. That they're down there roughly 10 minutes because it goes 14 minutes when she gets to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says 4 minutes when they're going back up in the elevator.
Yeah.
Actually, it checks out. I watched the
We are kind of
timeline.
assholes like that. But,
Yeah, I do suck like that sometimes.
but once we got up to the roof, I'm pretty sure it said 2 minutes were left, and we spent more than 2 minutes up there.
True. Yeah, we did spend a bit of time up there.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta wait for the.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing.
But at least they had a logical progression there worked out. Up
you
until
gotta wait for the
plot.
the alien sitting there in the elevator tapping its foot.
The longest
"Come on,"
fucking elevator ride up. Yeah.
It's got to wait for the elevator first. Calls the elevator once they get up top. And the alien's like.
Well, unless it's one of those where there's an always out kind of thing. If one goes up, the other goes down. So there's always an exit.
But even so, it's getting called, right?
Yeah.
It's somewhere. Alien sitting there tapping its foot in the hotel lobby.
Crossed arm just.
Yeah. And then I kind of talked about the last scene in my dislike, just of either Ripley's arm should have broke or her foot should have been torn off, or Newt probably should have got sucked into space, or the half of Bishop.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for this one.
Yeah. I would love to talk to Newt's therapist. When they get home. Because obviously the trauma of all of this has just got to be excruciating. Even though she, recovered kind of incredibly once she got with Ripley and the crew there. But then just the finishing, a giant-ass alien, and then being held onto by dear life by half of a synth, while trying to be sucked out of a vacuum or whatever.
Yeah.
It's this kid has just had the roughest go of it. And she just still has so much personality and life behind her still.
It's been a rough couple of days.
Yeah. Well, she was down there for a while because when they
Right.
talked about 17 days,
Right.
they're like, "Oh, Newt's been here longer than that, and she's a kid."
Well,
You fucking asshole Marines.
Obviously the start of her journey was pretty rough, but
Yeah.
then it's probably been an even rougher couple of days, honestly. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm done.
Yep.
So, yeah, we don't really rate movies anymore because I feel like a pretentious asshole when I do it, and I also feel like I don't know what I'm doing when I do it.
Yeah. I'd
I
give
just wanna
this.
talk about
I
it.
liked it out of 10.
Did you like it better than the first?
I really like the first one, so I'm gonna say no.
No. I still can't decide. I thought I'd know by the time we sat down and did this because I watched it twice and I was like, this was really a lot of fun. I'll probably just default to you and say that the first was better, but
Yeah. I definitely favor kind
very
of that.
rarely does the sequel ever even keep up.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely is close. I know I prefer kind of that slower burn and kind of the thriller horror vibe that we got through the first one more.
Right.
Hence kind of why I asked some of those questions. So I knew that's where I was going to be with this, but there was plenty to like about the second one there. So definitely happy with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, Instagram. Email us at consecrationhotline@yahoo.com if you have complaints about
Synth lives.
Oh man. I was kind of thinking about that as we did it, and I was like, man, that might be. Oh well. It's all fun and games, guys. We don't mean anything by it. But yeah, tell us we suck. Tell us what was good. Suggest things, whatever. Email us. And yeah, thanks for listening, watching, whatever. Bye.